I want to talk to you this morning about something I've found that's been really successful in my ministry in the church and with congregations and people. It's called belief therapy. Belief therapy is a program based on relationships with people. Now, I don't do pathology. If I discover someone has got a pathological problem, I refer them quickly. I'm not trained to do that. My training is in relationships, and so in belief therapy, that's what we do. We talk about relationships. So this morning I want to talk to you about belief therapy because it's what you believe, it's what you do, and those times of things, what you believe is often different than what other people believe, and when those two come together, you have confliction of beliefs, and that's where rub comes in often. So when doing counseling with couples, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to hear what they believe as a person based on their family background, their history, where they lived culturally, where they went to school. Did they play a sport? Did they play a musical instrument? Did they have uncles and aunts with all those kinds of different ideas? The culture where they lived, get all that information. Then I let the other person give that same kind of information, and then I listen carefully and I write down things. I always ask for permission to write down things, and then I begin to match those up, and I can see that when I hear one kind of concept as opposed to another concept, neither one of them wrong, it's just that they have different belief systems in different families and cultures. So when people come together, that's where the clash is. So one of the tasks there is to look at the belief system, help that person see what that belief system is and how they're living out of that belief system. One man said to me, he said, "Well, this is what my old daddy did." I said to him, "That's wonderful. I'm sure that worked really well for your father, but it's not working for you. And I would like to know what you believe rather than what your father believes." Well, that was a surprise to him. He didn't realize that he could develop and have his own personal beliefs. And so we talked about that for a while. And while all that's going on, the other person who's sitting there is hearing this all brand new information, and often they will respond with a look or a gesture or a movement, something that they didn't know. So then you have understanding going between these two people, and then you can find that you can talk about those two issues. Like, we always go to my mother's house for Christmas, and the other person says, "Yeah, but we always go to my mother's house for Christmas." So those are two belief systems, neither one of them wrong, but they clash because you can't do the same thing at the same time at your mother's house, each mother. So you have to work out a way for that to happen. So in the belief system, people do what they believe. And often we really don't know what we believe. Baseline, kind of, if you ask, but you get below this kind of normal baseline, and there are all kinds of things that persons believe that they aren't aware of. And so that's where I dig around in that psyche and that personality, because we do things based on our belief systems, but we don't always know what's in that belief system. It's like one professor said, you reach up here, you take out the old tape, and you put in the new tape, and on the new tape you put in all the new information, and that's how you do change people. So what we do is look at relationships, and relationships are usually based on the things that you believe. So it's important to look at all of that, and then at the end of those things, I would give it an evaluation of what I thought the problems were and the issues were. One person said to me, "Well, I don't know how to fix this problem." And I said, "Well, in our conversation, you've given me 4 different answers. You gave me this how to fix it, this how to fix it, this how to fix it, and this how to fix it. You already know in your mind how to fix it. You knew that when you come in. What you didn't know was which one of those to choose, and that you were willing to change them. So in belief systems, we often have to change things we believe so that we can have a relationship with another person, and they also may have to change. So it's about relationships, and life is built on relationships with your husband, your wife, your daughter, your church, your doctor, your friends, your clergy, your whomever. Everything is built on relationships. Those people you're close to, you have similar relationships, and the further away you get from that, the less relationships you have with people out there. So the whole idea of belief therapy, which is a whole system, helps you to deal with how you have a relationship and how you fix that relationship by changing your beliefs so that they will be acceptable and amenable to other persons. So when you come together in a counseling session, those are the things that you look at. One of the procedural things I would do to send home people with homework is I would say, now when you leave here, I want you to go to the mall, and there's an ice cream shop. You go in there and you each get an ice cream cone. You go out of that shop, and I want you to hold hands and walk around and just window shop. Don't talk about problems, just window shop. What happens in that is when you're holding hands, you're communicating. You can't hate somebody, dislike somebody, and continue to hold hands. So touch is extremely healing. Touch is affirming. And when you touch each other, hold hands, for example, or give hugs, there's 3 or 4 kinds of hugs, there's 2 or 3 kinds of kisses. And so when you do those things, you're establishing good communications and relationships. When people would come back and I would ask them to respond to that, they would have good results. Another exercise I would give to people, I would say, I want you to go home, crawl up in bed, put your pajamas on, get you some popcorn and a drink, and sit down, and here's what you do. First person, you get 30 minutes of talk time. The other person can't say a word. You get 30 minutes to say whatever you want to say, except you can't be mean, you can't be ugly, but you can say anything that you want to talk about, anything you want to talk about. When your 30 minutes is up, the other person gets to talk 30 minutes and you get to be quiet. They get the same opportunities to talk and say anything they want, can't be mean. When they come back for that next counseling session, I ask them how that worked. You'd be surprised. Most people cannot fill up the 30 minutes of talk time. While they say, well, nobody's listening, what you discover is people really don't have that much to say when they have an opportunity without any interference to say things. So it helps them to understand that they can talk to one another, they can say things. Here's another exercise I did. I would set 2 people facing each other, and I would say to one of them, which one goes first? Well, one would choose. And I'd say, I want you to tell your partner here how much you like them, what you like about them. Well, that was pretty easy. Of course, you're going to like the person you're with and have nice things to say. So each person would say something nice about the other. Then I would say, okay, I want you to tell this person something that you don't like about them. Now that got to be a much different situation. It's not the parts that you like that's the problem. It's the parts that you struggle with that's the problem. And you have to identify them and then talk about them, get them out in the open, because the person may not know that what they're doing is offensive to you. So they need to know that, and knowing it, they can probably correct that or bring it into a point where it's not so offensive anymore. So you have to talk, and that's part of relating to people. Now, if you look at your own life, what you'll probably discover is that you relate to and talk to people who think mostly like you think. If you find people that don't think like you do, then somehow they get pushed to the outer circle. So when you deal with relationships, you deal with things that you believe. So Democrats get with Democrats, Republicans get with Republicans, independents get with independents. Churches, people fill up with the same kinds of ideas, the same kinds of persons. And so relationships are critical, and they're what we use every day in dealing with other persons. So belief therapy is one of those therapies that will help you find healing, help you find a way to work through dynamic issues and struggles that you have with your children and in your home and in your community. So let me recommend to you that you research a little bit and check out belief therapy for good healing. Thanks.